Howdy folks, it's Bucket Fridge. Hope you're all doing very well today. In today's video, we are going to go over the patch notes in the PTR in Korea. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. Just as a quick disclaimer, these are patch notes on the public test realms. These notes are not final. These notes are not in the live servers yet. So if something's happening to your class, don't fear. It could change by the time it hits the live servers. So don't worry about it too much. And as another disclaimer, I'm only going to be covering the warrior parts of the patch notes. Those are the classes I play. I do not feel comfortable giving my opinion on the other classes as I don't have a frame of reference for them. I don't want to give you guys false information or information that might not be true because I'm not well versed with all of the classes out there. So I will primarily be touching on all the warrior ones, destroyer included, because those are what I have played, and I've played the destroyer on the Korean side as well, or excuse me, on the Korean servers. So let's get into those and see what is going on with the warriors. All right, we're going to start off with the Paladin. Paladin looks like your punishment, your executioner sword, and holy sword all just changed from head attack to back attack. Their notes read, Holy Knight is demonstrating excellent support for party content. Not really a lot going on with Paladin. All right, we're going to take a look at Gun Lancer next, or Warlord as it's called in Korea. So your Surge Cannon, as it's called in NA, has been increased by 3.3% during PvE. The 3.3% is just a flat increase. Who doesn't like a flat increase in damage? Changed, the perfect zone has now a smaller range, but when successful, damage is increased by 45, 52, 59, 67, and 75%. So it got a 5% damage increase in each one of the tiers respectively. 5% is 5%. That's pretty sweet. Then the overcharge tripod is changing as well. It changed to charge operation. When it's in the first charge, the perfect zone effect occurs, and when it's overcharged, damage is increased by 65, 73, 82, 91, and 100%, up from 60, 68, 77, 86, and 95. So again, another 5% increase at each one of the levels. Pretty good. Charge Stinger. The capture weakness tripod, so that would be weak point detection. This is also, keep in mind, translated from Korean to English, so some of the names might be a little off or have a little bit different wording than you might normally have in NA. Changed increased damage dealt to enemies immune to damage. Not immune to damage, but this is just immune to push effects, so usually bosses. Received by 25, 31, 37, 43, and 50, up from its previous ones here. Another 5% increased across all levels. It's pretty sweet. Counter Sphere. This is one of your counter abilities. So Gun Lancer has your dash upper fire and also your counter skill here. The Bombing Spear tripod has been changed as follows. It looked like this got a pretty significant buff from 95, 104, 114, 126, and 138. So this is a pretty substantial buff. So you might see more people starting to run this. And the developer comment, Warlord's high survivability, utility, and party care are all favored in various content. However, considering the survivability and operational difficulty of the Lone Knight, which is Red Gun Lancer, the amount of damage Lone Knight Warlord was determined to need some upward adjustment, so we adjusted it. So it looks like Red Gun Lancer got buffed, from my understanding, in Korea. In 2021 sometime, they had actually nerfed Red Gun Lancer. That's why people went to Blue Gun Lancer as opposed from playing Red Gun Lancer. Red Gun Lancer, from my understanding, was also the primary spec for Gun Lancer in Korea. Then it was nerfed and people changed to Blue Gun Lancer, and now it's being buffed again. So it looks like they're kind of just reverting the nerfs originally, and so you might see more Red Gun Lancers come into play, or you might even see the more popular build in Korea right now, Purple Gun Lancers. Stay tuned for a guide on that. We're going to be making a video on a Purple Gun Lancer guide. I know that you've heard of red and blue, but purple is pretty darn sweet. So stick around, subscribe to the channel to make sure that you catch that video. All right, let's jump into Berserker next, my current main. All right, we got first thing, Crime Hazard has been changed from a head attack to a back attack. Don't think that'll be really relevant. Chainsword is now changed from a head attack to back attack as well. This is our counter skill. The Assault Blade, or excuse me, the Piercing Blow tripod has been changed to a damage amplification. It used to just ignore the enemy's defense, but now it gives you and your party a 6% damage increase for 6 seconds. That's pretty darn cool. We'll have to see if this warrants bringing it now, because it's not typically run right now. Next is Mountain Crash added a counter attack effect. That's pretty darn cool. So usually our Chainsword is our counter, but we've gotten a second counter now, which is really awesome. And it also received the same damage amp that the Assault Blade did. So we might actually end up seeing a build where you have an Assault Blade, a Mountain Crash, and from Red Dust, all increasing your party's damage. We could actually see a build where these effects effects are stacked. Only time will tell, though. We'll have to see what people theorycraft and come up with as far as numbers. The Hellblade, now it is changed from, or excuse me, the Mortal Blow tripod is changed from 80, but it's not nerfing the entire damage of Hellblade. Keep that in mind. It is just nerfing a specific tripod. But think of it this way. They're nerfing the damage here by about 30%, because if they put these changes in, which increase the damage on your attacks and your allies' attacks, that if they have these extra increases, this might be over the top and a little OP. So these probably were changed to reflect the damage amplifications from the new skills, if I had to guess. All right, Red Dust. The cooldown has been changed from 30 to 24 seconds. That's awesome. The skill effect has been changed as follows. So it looks like target receives 2% increased damage for 6 seconds. So now the attack power is, your own attack power is increased. So just a slight nerf, about 6% per level, but it increases your own attack power, not the damage that the monster takes for 6 seconds. So this could actually be pretty interesting, because it increases your attack power percentage, not just the damage the monster takes. This could actually be not necessarily a nerf, but if somebody's able to crunch the numbers, this could be another really good ability to stack with the other two damage amps and having quite a bit of extra damage on top of increasing your attack power. Seems like it could be pretty good. Removed the head attack and back attack, so it looks like it's neither of those. The quick preparation tripod has been changed to a damage amplification effect. So the quick preparation, if you don't know, just reduces the cooldown, but since they changed the cooldown already, they thought that having the quick preparation would make this available too often, I assume. So it looks like the cooldown went away, obviously, and then another damage amplification effect. So now we have 3 damage amplification effects equaling 18% increased damage for not only you, but for your party. That's pretty huge. And not only that, but it now it gives you attack power as opposed to increased damage. So you've got increased attack power and increased damage. So I don't really look at this as even a nerf. It just is a change. Like I said, it could be pretty significant. 18% plus an attack power increase. That could be pretty significant. The damage amplification tripod has been changed to insert the greatsword in the ground, crack through the ground, increase damage dealt to enemy by 120, 132, 144, 157, and 170. And they changed it, so now there is also still a damage amplification effect on the tripod still. That is pretty darn impressive, if you ask me. Red Dust, I don't really think got that much of a nerf. It looks like they really just kind of changed how Red Dust works entirely. The Firestorm tripod has changed. Changed the fire attribute to when the attack hits, it burns for 6 seconds, inflicting damage every second, and then increased damage dealt to enemies. So a little bit of a nerf on these ones, well below 50% life. It looks like about a 45% decrease, which seems significant, but again, you have more damage amplification effects built into your trees. Okay, now let's look at the engravings. I think Brazil's secret is a translation to Berserker's technique, not obviously Brazil. There's no Brazil in Lost Ark. So the damage the change for Berserker's technique is in critical damage is increased by 5 in the first level, 10 at the second level, and 20 at the third level. So extra critical damage. That's pretty darn cool. The crazy effect, which is mayhem. So it looks like they decreased the percentage of damage dealt from 1%, 2%, and 4% respectively. And then the movement speed looks like it stayed the same. And your damage reduced is still the same at 65%. So it looks like they really just nerfed the damage right here on it by 1%, 2%, and 4% respectively. So it looks like mayhem probably still will be the the engraving that you use, but I would not be surprised if somebody built a Berserker technique build out there, because you got an increase to your critical strike damage, which is already really good. Plus the damage amplifications would make it multiplicative, which could be pretty significant. So I would not be surprised to see somebody crunch the numbers out there and see if Berserker technique is maybe the new hotness with all the new damage amplifications. Only time will tell. Again, these are patch notes, so we'll have to see what the numbers say and kind of wait to see what's going on. Madness Berserker, or Mayhem Berserker, has been showing very high average damage and excellent performance. Originally, the Mayhem engraving was designed as an engraving with excellent attack power instead of high risk, low survivability. On the other hand, Berserker technique may have slightly inefficient performance, so the engraving has been increased. Seems pretty good. I don't just think that there's a ton of complaints that I have about these nerfs. They seem pretty reasonable. The damage reduction isn't that crazy, especially, like I said, when you take into account that they are able to have 3 different damage amplification effects for themselves and for their party. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it is that bad, and I think you actually might start to see Berserker technique All right, last but not least, the Destroyer. For those of you who are unaware how the Destroyer played, you have your blue abilities, which are your builders, as they're called, which build gravity cores. Then you use your purple abilities to spend gravity cores, and depending on how many gravity cores you expended, 1, 2, or 3, would then change the damage on your purple skills. So that is how the Destroyer works, as a brief summary so you guys can kind of understand what's being changed. So what used to happen was a lot of their abilities had what's called Lucky Core, which would mean that your blue abilities with Lucky Core had a chance to increase the amount of cores that you got from 1 to 2 and sometimes even 2, 3, but it was a bit RNG based. You never really knew whether you were going to get the extra one. Sometimes you didn't get any extra ones. And so it was kind of hard to build and make a sustainable rotation for the Destroyer. So now that you kind of understand the Lucky Core change, you'll see that most of these abilities, essentially what they're changing is they're taking away the Lucky Core and adding an attack speed increase or a damage increase. So let's take a look at them, each of them one by one. All right, gravity impact. So attack speed increased by 10%, 12%, 14, 16, 18 from the Lucky Core. So attack speeds are always great, especially when you're swinging a big two-handed hammer. Their auto attack is pretty slow, so being able to have an increased attack speed is very beneficial, not only for autos but for other things as well. Then our power strike changed the Lucky Core ability, and now enemies hit have their damage reduced by 12% for 10 seconds. That's pretty darn sweet. When they have less defense, you're able to do more damage. Seems pretty darn good to me. And then it also is now a speed and another attack speed increase on it as well. All right, jumping smash, remove the Lucky Core ability, and now they also have all enemies hit by this attack has their defense reduced by 12% for 14 seconds. Like I said, less defense, more damage. That's pretty darn good. So it looks like what they're kind of changing is that you're reducing defense and then having more attack speed. So it looks like they're trying to make it into more of a sustained damage DPS class as opposed to big huge burst windows. The next one, another attack speed increase, changed the Lucky Core from an attack speed increase on Earth Smasher. And then there is also a tripod that would reduce defense of the enemies, but now you're immune to damage taken during skill casting. That is crazy. So if you know a huge damage amp is coming up in a fight, like where the boss is going to hit you really hard or there's a mechanic that you need to live, just being able to cast Earth Smasher and just literally be immune to damage is humongous. So this will add a lot of skill when using this ability, because if you time it correctly, not only is it just a good ability to have more attack speed, but it also just makes you immune to damage. Seems good to me. All right, running crash. This is kind of like a charge attack. So now the gravity cores got changed, and now it was a 20-second cooldown. It is changed to 18-second. 2-second cooldown reduction is awesome. Reduce mana, reduce damage in PvE. So because they changed the cooldown, they reduced the damage a little bit, it looks like, in both PvP and in PvE. It also got the Lucky Core removed, and now it has an attack speed increase. So I'm curious to see how many attack speed increases you'll get to see with all the different abilities now. I'm sure that you could actually probably get your attack speed moving, so we'll have to see how that plays out. And then it also got cooldown time on the ability, but now it got changed to damage reduction while you're casting that skill. Damage reduction is always good, and this is also pretty crazy in PvP as well. Just being able to take less damage makes you more survivable. More survivable means you do more damage because you're alive for longer. All right, gravity force. Change the Lucky Core to, when attacking, decrease the enemy's attack speed and movement speed. That's really darn good. Less attack speed, you take less damage, and the less move speed means you don't have to follow them as much when they use their movement abilities. Allows you to kind of stay on target more and not have to really chase them around. Your heavy crush, which is one of your bread and butter attacks, got rid of the Lucky Core, and then it got changed to increase damage to low ranking and normal monsters. So essentially, whenever you're doing chaos dungeons, this will be a talent to take, kind of like a Law of the Jungle as it's called in an A. They just take increased damage, but it buffed it by about 50% or more on each of the subsequent ones. So that's some pretty massive changes. So this will be pretty good. Dreadnought. This is supposed to be Dreadnought, not Dreadnought. Removed the Lucky Core. Changed to charge 2 gravity cores when hitting an attack. So a lot of these just will have looks like they have a flat 2 gravity cores that you can get and use reliably. So existing damage to enemies increased. So this will just is a damage amp because they added all enemies hit by this attack have their defense reduced by another 12 seconds. Yes, hello, kitty. Hello. My kitty wanted to say hello. he wanted to be included in on the patch note reading. But anyways, next we have Endure Pain. 3 gravity cores when attacking. That's pretty darn crucial, as your max gravity cores is 3, and it increased the attack range from 4 meters to 6 meters. A pretty significant increase in effect. The wide blow tripod has been changed to increase attack range from 15%. The attack range increased by 25%, meaning you have a farther attack range, which is awesome. Then the push tripod will give you a core even when the ability is not hit. That's pretty insane. Just a free core. Usually they are required, as you can see on all these other abilities. Change to charge 2 when hitting, change to charge 3 when attacking. So essentially this will give you one even if you miss. And then the Signs of Pain tripod change to provocation. When attack hits, all enemies except adventurers are provoked for 3 seconds. The same monsters of seed level or higher cannot be provoked again for a certain period of time. Sure, I got taunt. Watch out, Gun Lancer, there's a new tank boy in town, and he comes with a big hammer. This is actually pretty freaking awesome, if you ask me, because the Destroyer has, much like the Gun Lancer, a lot of attacks that are head attacks, so your abilities will do more damage when you hit them in the head. One of the difficulties was always having to reposition yourself, so you are hitting them in the head. But here, you'll just be able to taunt the boss and interrupt mechanics like the Gun Lancer can, and just make sure that when you need to, you are able to hit the head on demand. That's crazy. More than just having a taunt, it just also allows you to be able to hit the head whenever you need it. Power Shoulder, okay, change to 2 cores when you hit it. That's pretty self-explanatory. All right, now we get into the purple abilities. These are your spender abilities. All right, first we have Perfect Swing, which is traditionally your really big dam. This is the ability that will net you the most damage, your coup de grace, so to speak. So skill neutralization is increased to the best, and the damage enemies increased 5% respectively at each level. So they take increased damage. That's pretty darn cool, and that got buffed. All right, Sharp Hammer. When you have 3 cores, damage to enemies increased. So this got nerfed a smidge in total increased damage, but I think that's because this got buffed. So if they left this buffed and this, they probably thought it maybe did a little too much damage. Change, the charge time is reduced by 1 second, and your attack speed is increased by 20% when not in charge operation. They reduce the charge time, which is always really good. You swing faster, but you also get an attack speed increase when you're done. Okay, change the charge time by 50%. The charge stage is increased by 1 more, and when overcharged, damage done by the hammer is increased. So a 30% damage increase when you have a full charge. That's pretty incredible. So this just got mega buff. Sizing Hammer. This one is one of your other spenders. Changed, all damage received during skill is reduced. So another damage reduction skill, which is incredible. And then when you have on your Sharp Wall, when you have 3 cores, damaged enemy increased. So just a small damage nerf, but this looks like it will be more of a damage reduction, adding to the tankiness. Earth Eater. Change to the charge operation, making a huge hammer out of rocks and hitting them at once. Cooldown is increased by 6 seconds, excuse me, but it deals increased damage when charged, and now it has a even higher damage amp when you charge it. So it got buffed by, looks like, over almost 90 per level, and it goes up even more significantly. So Earth Eater is going to be another huge damage skill. Depending on the focus skill, 1 to 3 gravity cores will be changed. So it's just basically saying all your blue will have at least 1, sometimes up to 3 gravity cores when you're using it. All right, last but not least, the developer comments. Destroyer is a slow but powerful one. As is a designed class, you can fight against powerful foes. However, time passed, the actions of monsters became more and more diverse. The gimmick execution and attack methods became more complex. As a result, the combat structure of the Destroyer was bound to become more absurd. And so essentially what they've done here is they're really just saying that Destroyer, as it was originally designed, basically doesn't match up with a lot of new content and was kind of slacking. Destroyer was kind of known as a meme class in Korea for a long while, but with all these buffs to the moon and with the ability to taunt, it looks like Destroyer is going to be in a absolutely fantastic place, and these changes will probably happen with the Destroyer release with NAEU. I don't think there's any way they release it in its previous version not being very good and then subsequently buff it down the line. I think that would defeat the purpose and put a bad taste in players' mouths in NAEU if the Destroyer was released with its previously lackluster ability set. By all accounts, Destroyer looks like it's going to be pretty darn amazing. I am switching my main to it. So again, make sure to subscribe because we are going to have an in-depth Destroyer guide. That wraps it up for all the Warrior patch notes. I don't have anything else for you guys today. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know down below how you feel about the Warrior changes, whether you think they're good, bad, or you're indifferent. As I mentioned earlier, make sure to subscribe because we're going to come out with a Destroyer guide and with more more warrior content. Also, make sure to hit the Twitch link down below and do the YouTube stuff if you want to help support the channel. Thank you so much, everybody, and until I see you in the next one, remember to be safe, be kind, and I'll catch you in the next one.